Hello, my name is Francis Fox. Um, I'm a trained psychic. I used to be a psychic spy when I was a child and older. Not my choice, never compensated. Learned an awful lot of interesting things about how to sway people, what it is that causes people to go against their instincts. Um, I know a lot. I know like too much, which is an issue for certain people, but for me too. But I think I want to start this chat chat that gets turned into a podcast with a story of how important it is to pay attention to the human mind, how important it is for us to learn to distinguish what is internally generated and what is coming in from the outside. The whole issue of mind control is so has been so hidden from the public, from our elected officials, from our presidents, that once they decide to tackle it, and I do believe that Trump is going to tackle this issue, it's like it's very hard to get a grip on it because things are very elusive in the other dimensions. If you have zero knowledge, your belief system is screaming every step of the way, this is not possible, this is not possible. You don't want it to be true. You have no guidelines, there's no map. And the people that have been the most expert have been the black magicians and the people who do mind control, the people in cults. It's hard. But I'm just going to give you one little story and then I'm going to get into the map. Very good. The United States looks really good. But let's go ahead and the story that I want to share with you. At some point, I lived in Nevada. Um, and I believe that I have memories of Area 51. Very interesting. And whenever it's appropriate, I will share it with whoever it's appropriate to share it with, those memories. But this is not that. I was a little kid, 5 years old, and I was given instructions, and then I had to meet somebody. I met the man that was going to fly a plane, a military man. I had to meet him anyway. He took off in the plane, and then the person that was controlling me took me on a jeep to the desert, and the plane was flying over us. And the man that was controlling me said, "Okay, now go ahead and tell him." And I said, "Tell him what?" In other words, I'm on the ground in a Jeep, and there's somebody that I just met who's flying a plane overhead, probably in Nevada. And he says, tell him to break formation. And I went, I don't want to do that. He's going to get into trouble. He's a little kid. No, 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 no. You have to tell him to break formation. And I kind of knew that this was not the right thing to do, but options. I have brothers and sisters I adored. So I went ahead and I said into his head, break formation. And the pilot, who I guess was flying with other planes, which I don't really remember the other planes, he broke formation. So anyway, we got back in the Jeep. We go on to the runway where the pilot is coming in, and he comes in and he's getting out of the plane and he's all flustered. And his boss walks up to him and said, "What happened?" And he said to his boss, some military guy, the guy was shaking. The pilot was shaking. He had just broken formation. The pilot said to his boss, "Listen, you told us that if our instincts were really strong, that we should do something, even though supposedly we weren't supposed to do it, that we should do it. And my instinct said to me to break formation." Is that a sad story or what? He broke formation because I spoke inside of his head. Now, what did he get into trouble or not? That's not the issue. The issue is he didn't know how to distinguish between a voice that was beamed into his head, which was through me, a kid probably 5 years old, not seven, because at that point I would have been in Europe and Remain Air Force Base. That's mind control. It is very messy. You don't know what's yours and what's not yours. I am only in the last 2 years conscious of the fact that the Cuban political mafia know how to talk inside my head. And you all know my story about pan de bono, which is I think it's a Colombian pastry that's delicious that I like, and that they would put it into my head to where I felt the need that I had to go to a particular place close to me where they sell them to go pick some up. And that was the way of this Cuban mafia. Today, we're talking last week, is still thinking, or maybe still controlling me by talking inside my head. And there was no electronics involved. It was just simply me. I'm not proud of this story, but you need to hear this story and you need to incorporate it. And for those who are going to go after the mind control programs, issues, bosses, you are not safe from anything. That being said, and I'm leaving the best thing for last, which is the map of the United States, which is looking really good. So I'm on X, which is where I get my news. And now, from 2 days ago, there is a congressperson, a female, nice. She looks very honorable. She looks really good. No complaints about her. She's going to announce something so exciting today. Yeah, that's weird. You just announce it, just do it. But she's like too excited. My instincts were like, well, she's going to be part of a committee that's going to investigate the Kennedy. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute. How many more government people do we want between us and those documents? Why can't we just take those documents and do what Elon did? What were the documents he put out? I don't remember. When he first started, he just worked through somebody else and they released the documents. And then everybody took whatever part of it and they went and they ran in that direction. And there was a gazillion people. Why are we doing another government committee? And I have to say, the smile on her face and the joy that she was showing does not seem to be appropriate to what the issue is. The joy is of control. Look, we have this under control. I don't even know if she's Democrat or Republican, and I don't really care. It didn't resonate, and I'm going to ask again, why is there another group of Congress people between us and those documents? Why? Trump, can you look into this, please? Release it to the American public. Don't release it through a funnel that is totally. Why is this woman so happy for the last couple of days? Look, I got a surprise that's going to shake up the whole country. Something's weird going on there. Okay, something weird's going on there. Please look into that. Whoever it is that needs to look into that. Elon, grab those documents, put them out on X. I guess you shouldn't grab the documents. We need to save you. Don't put another congressional committee between us and stuff that's been promised for decades. I mean, and let's find out why that woman is so happy. What is she in charge of? Anyway, did it just come out that the Department of Defense is the one that provides lunches to our children in schools? Did I just read that? Well, all of you will say, well, the money that they must be making. No, 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 no. I'm teaching you to widen your lens and be multidimensional. What did I tell you that the Mexican shamans taught me years ago? The easiest way to kill your enemy is to put magic in their food. Why is the Department of Defense handling stuff that's going inside the bodies of our children and grandchildren? Why? And if you keep going to, well, they're funneling money, great, but guess what? Your mind, which creates reality, is so much more important than your pocketbook. Because if you lose everything and you can keep your focus, and that's your real intention, you can make all that money back again. Once they put certain magic in your food, and I'm going to tell you a very sad story. There's a very famous incident that happened here years ago, and I'm going to try not to give enough information for people to figure it out. I'm supposed to be what? I'm giving you information. Very famous event, hit national news. Some man, completely contrary to his personality, and nobody could get it, left his calling and went off with a female. Well, that happens a lot. People fall in love. The whole thing was really weird. I mean, it was like everybody was like scratching their head. It doesn't, not that somebody would go off and leave their calling and go off with a person that they're in love with sexually. That's not what's weird. It just didn't resonate. So I looked it up. So here's what happened. The female did something that a lot of females do that are into black magic. And she took part of the blood from her menstrual cycle and she fed it to this man continuously. And that created a part of her inside of him, a female part of her inside of him. So there is a pull, the law of attraction. There's a pull of him towards her. So you can say, well, Francis, you don't know that that's why he made the decision. What are you asking me for 1,000% guarantee when you can't give me that on anything? I'm telling you a story and it explains what went on. And if you tell anybody who's Hispanic that knows anything, basically any Hispanic, they'll go, oh, that explains it. There's an instinct that people do have. Okay? So you don't know enough about this magic stuff. You need to know that there are people within the government who are controlling the government who know a lot more than you do. So when somebody says, Department of Defense is feeding our children, you can't just go, they're trying to steal the money. They're probably taking the money for their own personal pocketbooks. Meanwhile, I'm trying to fix my collar. What can I tell you? No, widen the lens. Why would they be handling the food for our kids? Why? I'm asking you, why? Trump, why are they handling the food for the kids? And if you don't widen your lens, then you think it's just another way of stealing money. I don't think so. So now let's get into the good stuff. And I want to know, how long is it going to take for the whoever to go through the 2,500 new documents they found, the Kennedy assassination? Oh my God, what a coincidence. We found more. Okay, look at the map. We look good. The heart is there. It's red. We got to get that fire down. The heart is controlled by the fire element. Okay, but it's too much. We're not as tight. We're not as tight. We were much tighter yesterday. Here. Much tighter yesterday. That's red. Now we're not as tight. We're depressed. But it's not as tight. And the heart is there. Then our pyramids in the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America. Why don't we make it the Gulf of Mexico and America? That will kill Trump. I'm so sorry, Trump, but I'm half Hispanic. What can I tell you? That's yesterday. Here we go today. So we still got the green. The only reason it looks different, the green, is because I use a different pen. The pyramids in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, are much stronger. They're bigger. They're Nile framed. This is great. The East Coast still looks good. Florida looks good. That part of Texas looks good. And up here, rather than this, which basically I concluded yesterday after the chat, those are the earthquakes that are being felt across the world where they're causing alarm for tsunami. That's what that is. It's movement. And then, but look, it's no longer as strong. Now, here's the trick. In the Bible and the Mayans and the dolphins, they also said that some of us are not going to have to go through the chaos. When I see this, I worry because of this, and because this is red, and fire is what's going to do us in in this particular cycle of the planet at this time in history. And then we go to this. This is good. We will not be going down because and do you know what the big thing is? The only thing that's going to get left standing with all these revelations is the truth. So now there's a battle to cover up the truth by the people that allowed the stuff to happen or were actually participatory. The whole thing with what Elon is doing. We need to take care of that man. I don't talk about him very much. I know he's just working, and it concerns me. One of the reasons it concerns me is because I invested so much in Tesla. My goodness, can we please pay a little bit of attention to Tesla? And that's true what I just said. But it concerns me because it's overwhelming. And he's a very nice guy, and he laughs about the fact that too many people hate him. But I know that hurts him. It's very hard to get used to that. If you're a good person and you've kept your heart open, it's really hard when so many people dislike you. And we all know that they're not right, and he knows that they're not right, and it's an emotional reaction. We know that, but it's still painful, and that can debilitate you and make you weak, and then stuff can start to happen. So Elon, do me a favor. Let me give you a mantra. And your mantra would be, Elon, even though I'm sad, so many people hate me, I love and accept myself. Even though I'm sad, so many people hate me, I love and accept myself. By the way, I just picked up that if you would do that mantra, or maybe your mother can do it for you if you're really big-headed, which cancers can be. He's a Cancer. I'm a Cancer. I'm very aware. Your mother can do it for you. I believe that mantra is going to save you from an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune means that you actually go against yourself. And it always has to do with repressing legitimate anger that you have. But you're not expressing it. And you're not doing mantra to get it out. So even though I'm sad, so many people hate me. Or even though I'm sad, they hate me. I love and accept myself. And Maya Musk, you can do it for your son. And I'll do it for him too. And all of you that love Elon, you can do that for him. Just say, God, this mantra is for Elon. Even though we're sad, so many people hate me, I love and accept myself. You're doing it for him. Vacuum cleaning off of that. His reaction, it's painful to him. He's smiling, he's laughing, he's having a good time. But it's really very painful. And I'm saying this as a remote viewer, and I'm not trying to expose stuff. I'm trying to protect an asset that all of us have in this man. Okay? So we look good. And why are we looking like this with all the fighting that's going on? Because the truth is getting anchored. The truth is getting anchored. And then we have the reaction against it because of the changes. And then we have whatever. But the truth is coming out. I am in shock at all the money. It's shocking. But we're in a good place because we are aligning with truth, which is throat chakra, which is where the big portals are that we can get invaded. But it's also creation. But if you're lying, everything's fine, it's okay, this gets messed up. And then your creations get messed up. And this is clearing up. Okay. That's it. Do I have anything else interesting to say? We have a full moon tomorrow, and it's supposed to be a moon that's really going to shake things up. Maybe tomorrow's going to be the day that they're going to all release the Kennedy stuff. Please look into committees handling that information before it's given to the public. Okay? Please look into why that woman had such a smile of satisfaction. Was she smiling like that because she had positioned herself nicely? Okay, I get that. A little bit too much enthusiasm. But we're talking about something that's critically important, that the reason the presidents haven't released it is because it's going to be a shock to all of you guys to see how deep this has all been. Yep. So let's go ahead and let's do a mantra. Um, let's do the shame mantra. Yes. Oh my God. We're going to do the shame mantra, but you're going to do it. You're going to change it. You're not going to change it. Here's the trick. The mantra is going to be, even though I'm ashamed of my sexuality. So if you're a man, you actually don't know what it is that's going to come up with that mantra, this mantra. But this is a very important mantra, which I'm going to work with my group tonight on it with the energies of the full moon. When I started to do that mantra, because of all the stuff that will probably come out about all those years in which I was mind controlled and was involved in all sorts of things that you guys will find fascinating, but were really god awful. So I decided to go back to doing the ashamed. And then I fell into the whole female thing. And I found that a lot of the issues that I'm having with my body have to do with me rejecting the female part of me because I'm ashamed of that part of me. I'm ashamed of my sexuality and ashamed of all the things that I was involved in. But then I realized I think that's probably the case for most people. I'm putting out a book very quickly, which will be like a crazy book. And the book title is Sex. We Need to Figure This Out. That's the title. Sex. We Need to Figure It Out. And it's a collection of documents that the dolphins gave me, stuff that I wrote, things that I have observed. They're not in any order, it's just different documents with some wild stuff that the dolphins gave me, observations, such as St. Teresa being in the middle of an orgasm, which she calls spiritual ecstasy, both of which are true. Lots of stuff. But the point of the matter is that in doing that book, I read the mantras that I recommended, and I realized practically everybody has some kind of a shame associated with what their sexuality is. Um, I said that I studied 33 women having to do with their menstrual cycles. I wanted to find out what was going on. And I already told you that story, so I'm not going to repeat it now. But then I decided, let me be fair and let me check men in terms of their maleness, whatever. I had a boyfriend at that time. That was years ago, and he didn't let me continue with it. He felt it was just not right. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I only interviewed 4 men and remote viewed them. All 4 of the men were ashamed of being male. Now, one of them maybe had good reason to be ashamed. Maybe he was abusive. But the other 3 were kind of like not real macho men, and they weren't gay, but they were ashamed of being a man because of everything they've heard about male abuse. I was shocked. These men had never abused anybody in their life, and yet they were ashamed because they were a man, and that made them part of a group that our society feels is abusive to females. Very interesting. The book is called Sex. We Got to Figure This Out. And then after that, I will put out the book, um, Psychic Sexual Secrets, which have nothing to do with the act of sex, position, nada. It has to do with stuff, the other dimensional information that you need to protect your sexuality for whatever it might happen, might be. So we're going to do the mantra, even though I'm ashamed of being, and in my case, it would be being a female, or I'm ashamed of my sexuality. Um, do that and just allow and pay attention to the information that comes up about you. Were you a male and you saw your father maybe hit your sister and she was this small and he was big and you thought, oh no. And your mother was like, you can't do that. She's just a little kid. You're just a big man. Whatever. We don't know what's going to come up, but whatever's going to come up is going to get released from you. So that whatever your sexuality is, and I'm really talking male, female, I'm not going into the gay, whatever. But if you're gay, it's not an issue. Still do it. But it's going to be very interesting for you, I suspect. Okay. And if you put comments here, it might be nice. So even though No, even though I'm ashamed of my sexuality, whatever your sexuality happens to be. My sister was so judgmental. Is it very interesting? She made me feel so bad about myself. And I can understand. She's very was very square, and but it's not like I was in charge of my life. Okay. Whatever your sexuality is, you're male and you are not gay, fine. It doesn't matter. Just see what this beating of the bushes with the mantra brings up for you. Because, okay, so here we go. Let's do the music that has to do with the second sacral chakra. Your sexuality is in the energy center that has to do with being sacred. It's real important. That's why I'm going to put this book out, because here we go. Something really weird happened during this session. Something really weird and great. And that is that as we did this mantra, and it was due to what we're doing now, we're getting a very big healing. The color green, it's not, you can barely see it, but we're getting a very, very big healing in the heart center. I don't get it, but I can say that in working through, waiting for these papers to be released about the Kennedy stuff, and then obviously remembering the fact that I was sex trafficked to him. He did not know how old I was. I was a child. All the things about sex and the whole thing with the shame, my sister made me feel like I was lower than low, which is kind of weird. But she's very judgmental about everything and made me feel really bad, plus my own feeling bad. And in working with this mantra for myself, I realized half of our body is male and half is female. Now, my half of the body that's female, and I'm assuming it's with everybody, is the right side of my body. Well, when I had emergency surgery decades ago for my back, when the orthopedic surgeon looked at my x-ray, he said it's really weird because the right side of your body is totally collapsed. And he didn't have an explanation, and neither did I at that point. And today is when I have an explanation why the right side of my body would have been collapsed. The discs are support. I had zero support in being who it is that I am. Half of your brain is male, half is female. So if there's inside of you a rejection of male or female because you're one of the two, or you could be gay, whatever. I'm not going to get into that because I haven't figured that all out, and I'm not going to figure it out. Somebody else can figure it out. But even if you're whatever it is that you are, gay, whatever, you're still born with a male or a female body. I know they want to change that with trans or certain people. Let's not go there. But I now understand why it is, and I said it here on this chat, and I've said it in my chats in Spanish. I always have this huge, dark, depressed spirit here on my right side, which means that my right side is weak. Because if it wasn't, that thing wouldn't be there waiting to see if it can come in and take over. Black makes sense, being depressed about all of this. But since I realized the whole thing of the shame about being the whole sexual thing, now I understand. And in doing this mantra, I can align with myself, the two parts, my male part, my female part, And now I understand why my male part was always so operational. And my female part would only kind of come out if I felt extremely safe. I'm telling you this stuff that I've noticed in retrospect. But when you are not, both sides of you aligned, you don't have, you're split. But basically, everybody is split just on this issue of sexuality, having nothing to do with who it is you want to go to bed with. It has to do with you and you and you and you. So I suggest that you do this mantra a lot, especially seeing that it changed this map. And I can't show it to you well because this, but see the Nile Green. And we're like 80 people, which means we're probably 300 because the numbers are messed up with, but it doesn't really matter. We're very few people. Anyway, a piece of news last night, the Mantrista group that I get together with, we went ahead to check what is the heck going on that we're getting all these earthquakes and these potential tsunamis. And basically, several of us saw that somebody's placing bombs in strategic places to create the earthquakes. And a lot of people are saying that openly, or at least in the Spanish media, because half the people in the chat had already understood that and believed it. But we checked it with remote viewing. I saw it. They were placing bombs. The tsunami that killed 200,000 people in Indonesia, 6 months before it happened, I had read that somebody was going to be placing a bomb in the ocean near there. And I didn't even remember it, that I had said that 6 months before. And I said, we have to pay attention here. I didn't pay attention. I didn't remember. I say so many things. When the tsunami happened and it was from an earthquake, I went, oh, so it wasn't from a bomb. Silly. It was a bomb that stimulated the earthquake that caused the tsunami that killed 200,000 people. Now, why am I repeating this to you? Because it wasn't just me that said it was a bomb that had initiated that issue. It was several other people around the world, and probably a lot of people that I never even heard about. So we have a lot of people behaving poorly, and a lot of stuff, earth changes, catastrophes, and all the rest of that. Because I had titled my chat, Mother Earth is not happy, or she's complaining. Well, it wasn't Mother Earth. Mother Earth is getting beaten up and bombed. So I don't have any words of wisdom as to what to do about that. But just to know that if we look like this, we are at a higher frequency. Oh, and something else that somebody told me yesterday. As usual, I'm only going to talk 20 minutes, and here I keep going, right? It's exciting to share. So I have explained to my followers that the reason, in retrospect, why we spent since 2018 purifying ourselves and purifying countries and purifying, the ground underneath Congress when they were trying to impeach Trump, where everybody was so angry, stuff without interfering with people's free will. You balance the element, and basically it makes it harder for people to behave badly. So I had explained the reason we've spent all of this time on purification is because we need to, whatever our frequency, astral particles of emotion weigh. They have weight. And the more you have within you the excess particles that are negative, the more you're weighed down. Your ascension process is harder. You can't ascend when you weigh so much. There's the concern with Elon Musk, the hatred that's directed towards him, and it stays there. And so we're going to do the mantra for him. And if he doesn't want to do it, he can let us know. It'd be a community project. So, and then lately I've said, now we have to continue the purification. We have to get into the creation, what we want to create, because most of us feel, and I feel that most of my group already has 1 foot or both feet into the golden age, which doesn't mean we don't have problems. It means we continue with certain things that we still need to deal with, but everything is easier, including dealing with those issues. So, and somebody reminded me about Greek It's not mythology. It's things that happen in Greece that we call mythology because we can't handle it, that they can do more than what we can do. We can't handle a simple ET thing. Therefore, their gods are obviously mythology and never really happened. But the god of the underworld, Anubis, which everybody loves Anubis. I'll put it here because I'm not quite sure if I pronounce it correctly. Anubis is in charge of kind of like the underworld, if I understand correctly. I could have a detail wrong. The point of the matter is that when you die, they take your heart. What's improving here with us dealing with our sexuality, and they put it on a scale and with a feather. And if it weighs more than the feather, then you can't continue your process of going into the other worlds. In other words, your process of going into the light is blocked. There you go with the scale, with the weight. And so that made me very happy. Now, if I had understood Anubis and that whole thing, I wouldn't have had to go through my own self discovery process. But on the other hand, I don't really trust anybody. So I'm not going to just read something and spout it out. Kind of figure it out and see if that holds up under closer examination by me, not by somebody else. Yeah, when you have, it's normal to be paranoid when you have been controlled and handled by people who defined and control the issue of paranoia, etc. So, anyway, that's it. Continue with that mantra, even though I'm afraid of my sexuality. It has nothing to do with your sexual choices, nothing. But it will probably bring up from your subconscious interesting sexual issues, such as we found in our group that a lot of females mantristas do not think that they will ever be prosperous because they're females. And they were born within a society where the guy, the father, was the one who went out, worked himself to death, brought home the money, and the mother sat there at the kitchen table peeling potatoes, whatever. So this is the girl learned that females are just not going to whatever. So it's a sexual issue. Their prosperity is blocked by a sexual issue. It's really this whole thing with sex. That book I'm putting out, Sex, we got to figure this out. That's the name of the title. I'm going to get a lot of criticism. There's going to be a lot of screaming. Don't scream at me. Scream at the dolphins. Scream at St. Teresa. Don't scream at me. Figure it out, which is what we have to do. Love you. Thank you for joining me. Bye.